How to Be Like Me. Episode 1, Titles. Hello and welcome to the first episode of How to Be Like Me. This is part of my 63-year film school series, a slower alternative to the 14-day film school things that you see online, or the even more temporarily compressed no film school. People ask me what makes my work look so distinctive. Well, part of the unique identity of my work is, of course, the titles. Some of my favourite titles have been made with the proprietary dry transfer lettering system Letraset and its various knockoff competitors. I started using the dry transfer lettering system for film titles in the 1980s. Using black sugar paper as a backing, I would apply white Letraset to spell out the words needed. Words like sheep and zoom, for example. I was, and remain, a strictly sans serif or sans serif kind of guy. Since I don't carve my titles in stone, like the Romans might have done, I don't need serifs, which are now just an irritating waste of space, exactly like the people who continued to support their use. Ideally, I'd go for something like Helvetica, something dry. Sugar paper, by the way, is not made of sugar. That would be f***ing ridiculous. But according to the internet, it's called sugar paper because it was used for making the bags that sugar was sold in. I used sugar paper because it was cheap, it still is, and importantly it's unpolished and slightly rough, so it cuts down the amount of light reflected back into the camera. And black because it's the colour that sucks in the most light, so white titles on a black background. You may have noticed that my titles are tilted, canted, sloping, askew. Did I do this on purpose? Of course I didn't, you stupid. What do you take me for? No, it wasn't a conscious decision. It was because what I saw through the viewfinder of my second-hand Canon 51 4XLS Super 8 camera didn't match up with what it actually shot. So although all my shots were carefully framed, they often ended up including extraneous details that I hadn't intended to appear in frame. Or I ended up with canted framing. Later, when I got the camera serviced, I found out that it was because the viewfinder prism had become misaligned. Is this getting boring? I mean, more boring. Anyway, I could correct the misalignment digitally. It's easy to do, but I've decided not to. I'm using Letraset again after a break of almost 40 years. During which time dry transfer lettering ceased being a thing. You can't buy Letraset anymore. The factory that made it closed down in 2013. Some people are still selling old sheets of Letraset on eBay, but these are pretty expensive. I have a few old sheets of my own left, but I didn't have enough E's and P's for the film that I'm currently working on, which is called Shopping List. Luckily, my good and much more talented friend Ben Rowley has come to the rescue. He visited the factory in Ashford, Kent, UK, when it was closing down, and a bloke there gave him a box full, which Ben has kindly passed on to me. With Ben's generous gift of this treasure trove of letters, numbers and punctuation marks, I can keep the flame burning for Letrasetted film titles for a little while yet. Letraset works by positioning the required letter on whatever it is you're transferring it to, in my case, black sugar paper. I draw a faint pencil line as a guide, which I can erase later, and I work out what the middle letter of the group will be and work outwards from there, ensuring that the titles are centred on the sheet of sugar paper. After positioning the letter, you then rub on the front of the sheet with a pencil or a pen or a burnisher if you're really taking it seriously. The letter should then transfer from the sheet to the sugar paper. You then use the backing sheet that comes with each sheet of Letraset to rub over the transferred letter to ensure proper adhesion. What I note is that over time Letraset degrades. The letters don't transfer very easily from the sheet due to the failure of the adhesive, and they become brittle, cracking or crumbling as you transfer them. There's a technique that I was either taught or worked out for myself back in the day to deal with a letter that only transfers partially. Before slowly peeling off the sheet to check the transfer, you pin down the sheet with your finger so that you can drop it back in exactly the same place should another rub be needed to transfer the rest of the letter. Spacing is an issue, of course, and here you can see some poor spacing in a title I made earlier. However, I embrace these imperfections because, to use one of my favourite phrases, you have to dig the groove that it's in. And with this pearl of wisdom, episode 1 of How to Be Like Me approaches its conclusion. If you've enjoyed this bit of video content, then please share it with your friends. In the next episode, I'll be going on about something else. So don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel,
The Analog It Organization,
to make sure that you don't miss out. Thanks for listening.